So a few weeks ago I made a brief demo of the Do Not Disturb feature synchronization between IP phones, in this case a Polycom IP phone, and the call server. And at this point I have all of the features now working. So this is going to be a more thorough demonstration of that. And to recap, the way that it works is that you can use buttons on the phone, such as the Do Not Disturb button or the forward button, which is a soft key in this case, to set certain feature statuses. But instead of being set at the phone as it would be normally, it is actually sent to the call server and processed there. And the call server is what actually sets the feature or does whatever it needs to do. And so this allows you to have that all centralized. It's the same as if you were to dial a feature code where the server is doing all of that. And so it works very nicely. It's a specification created by Broadworks. So if you've used a Broadworks system, you've probably interacted with this, maybe without even knowing. But to get right into it, so I can press the Do Not Disturb button here. And I've got more lines set up on this phone now. I've got 2, so I have to choose. And I could choose to set it on the first line that I've got here. And you'll notice that there's now a flashing X on line 1, and it actually says Do Not Disturb. So that is that. And the same thing would happen if I were to use a feature code. So I can disable it by dialing star 79. And as you can see, Do Not Disturb is now deactivated. I can go ahead and enable it for all lines. Or actually not, because I've only got it set up on the first line. But if I did have it set up on the second line, then it would work on that line as well. Okay, so I have all of the relevant features now provisioned on both of the 2 lines that I have registered to this phone. So if I press Do Not Disturb and I do Set All, you'll see that it's now been turned on both of the lines that show up here. And likewise, we can go ahead and turn it off just as easily. So if I wanted to do the same thing by dialing a feature code. Now keep in mind I'm doing it at this phone, but if you had some sort of mechanism set up for doing so, then you could also do so remotely. So I'll do star 78. And you see that it's now been activated on that line. I could also go ahead and do the same thing on the other line. That's just a brief burst of confirmation tone letting us know that we've succeeded. And I can, of course, go ahead and disable it using the feature code as well. So we've turned it off on that one. Of course, in most cases, it's going to be easier just to use these dedicated buttons. You can just come here and very easily turn it on for all lines, or the specific line that you want to turn it off for. So it's definitely handy. So that's Do Not Disturb. For call forwarding, again, you have to choose between the lines, but we also have 3 different types of call forwarding. So there's call forwarding always, no answer, and busy, pretty standard stuff. So right now I don't have any of the, well actually I guess I have no answer forwarding enabled from some testing that I did earlier. So I'm going to go ahead and disable that. And if I enable, so if I were to call the phone now, which I can do from another line, okay, so you see that the call comes in there. And if I forward my calls using call forward variable, and I'll just forward it to that extension. So now you see that calls are forwarding, and it will show that up here. I've also got a missed call, so it's kind of alternating between the 2. But if you get rid of that, then you'll just see that the call forwarding number displays on the screen every now and then. So now if I were to call this phone, alright, and there we go. So the reason that something came through here is because I have a splash ring configured for call forwarding, variable at least, and so that's why a call came through with no caller information, because that was actually a internal thing. And you notice that it didn't generate a missed call line here either, and because that wasn't actually the real call that was coming through. So that is activating it using the soft key. Of course, I can disable call forwarding using any mechanism that I want to. So I've disabled it now. And unlike the do not disturb function, you can't, it seems, enable forwarding for multiple lines at once to the same thing, which probably makes sense because I don't see why you would necessarily want to do that, but you could do it. So let me try a different type of forwarding now. I could do busy call forwarding, for example, and I'll just forward it to the same number. And so now you see that that's there, and always and no answer disabled, but busy is enabled. So we have that there. So now if I were to call and the line is idle, of course it rings through. But if the line were not idle, and since this is configured as a non-analog line, let me just I'll just call well, I'll call it the same thing. That works. And now if I were to call, and you'll see that my call immediately forwards to that same test number. So the different types of call forwarding, of course, work as well. And of course I can disable it using the feature code as well. I think for busy that's *93. Might be *91 in that case. Okay, so yeah, now that I always forget which one is busy and which one is don't answer, but I guess that one is that one. So now they're all disabled again. So that's the different ways that you can control the feature keys and synchronize the indicators on here with the actual state on the server. And another way that you could set the features is through some kind of web portal if you have that configured and connected to your telephony server. So that's not something I have set up at this time for controlling features specifically. But any way that you have it connected to the server, again, when you use the functions on here to set a certain feature status, all it's doing is telling the server that it would like to enable it. But similarly to as if you used a feature code, it's the server that actually tells the phone that it should put the do not disturb icon on or say that calls are being forwarded. The phone by itself isn't doing it when it's in this mode where it's synchronizing device feature keys with the call server.